Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Steven and this is Still Wealth Codes. So today we will be talking about data processing. We'll still be using the same tools we have been using, which has to do with Python, which has to do with Panda, Jupyter Notebook, and Anaconda. So data processing, it's quite a broad topic in the data world. So first we need to understand what data processing means. What is data processing? So data processing basically in machine learning refers to the manipulation and transformation of raw data into formats suitable for analysis and modeling. It also involves several steps aimed at preparing the data to be fed into machine learning algorithms, ensuring that the algorithm can effectively learn from the data and make accurate predictions. So there are several steps into this data processing. One of the first steps is how you can actually collect your data. So data collection is actually the first step. After collecting your data, most data doesn't come pre-cleaned. So you need to clean your data because most data are quite dirty. It contains a lot of missing values. It contains a lot of wrong data, outliers, inconsistencies, and the like. So you really do not want to give your machine to learn from a data that has inconsistent inconsistent records, or probably you have missing values. So it's not going to be good. So what you need to do is you need to pre-process this data. So they call it data cleaning, or in general data pre-processing. Then also what you need to do is you can also transform your data into suitable format for analysis. So for example, your data might contain several variables. So there are different kind of variables. There is the categorical variables. There is also the numerical variables. So under the numerical, you have normal, like when they say a numerical variable, it means a variable that contains normal values, normal discrete values, or continuous values, which has to do with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. It can also contain categorical. So categorical variable is more like you have a particular data, and it has it may look in for it might be in the format of, let's say you have numbers. It can also be in format of not numbers, which has to do with words. So what they do is categorical variables helps you to group your data basically. So when you have they are actually limited. It doesn't have to be with maybe starting from number 1 to 100 or 200 or so. No, it has a limited amount of number. So it can be from 1 to 5, it can be from 1 to 6, it can be from 1 to 10, 1 to 12. And it can be in form of numbers, but also it can also be in form of words. For example, if we are going to say it's either your student or your lecturer or your non-teaching staff. So that's like categorical variables. You could categorize a group of records into just 3 formats. We can actually say you are self-employed, you are employed, or you are jobless. So you could categorize a group of number of people into just 3 particular variables, which has to do with either they are employed, they are non-employed, or they are actually jobless. So it depends on all this. So this particular video is you really have to have at least basic knowledge about what data processing means. We're just going to be working with a live data to see how we can pre-process our data right from the scratch to the point of where we can actually use it for different formats. So in terms of maybe machine learning, maybe we want to use it for statistical analysis. It can be anything. So that's just what this video is all about. So you need to have an idea of what you are going to at least basic idea about what data processing means. So we'll be going directly into the code. If you have not liked this video, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video also to your friends, to your families, and everyone. So for this video, we'll be using a data set from Kaggle. So I'm just going to be showing you this. So this is an online food data set. I think I stumbled on this So Kaggle is also a site where you can actually get quite a number of data sets for you to play around with. With it has a lot of data sets, different kind of data set depending on what you want to use it for. So I'm interested in this guy called online food data set, though I did some modification. So when I download this particular data set, I had to do some modification to suit the current plan that we had for today, so that you guys can actually learn from how you can actually pre-process your data. So basically, I'll be using this particular online food data set. So you can just go to Kaggle, make sure you when you go to Kaggle, make sure you sign up, so you can be able to download data set. So you can see this download button. So once you download it, it gives you the CSV file of this online food data set. So let's see how it is. So first things first, we are going to be using Pandas. So import Pandas as PD. So we all know what Panda is for already. So Panda helps us for our data processing, and it's a very powerful library where you can actually use it to do so many data processing techniques. Now we are going to be reading our data frame. So PD, so the alias of Pandas now becomes PD. So anytime we are working, we have to just call PD to work with it. So PD dot read underscore CSV. So this particular command helps us to read our data set into Python. So there are several kind of commands in this Pandas. So this particular function here helps us to read CSV because our data set here is a CSV file that we downloaded. Now you cannot just only read CSV, you can read JSON, you can read HTML, you can read different kind of file format, but we are working with just the CSV. So online foods.csv. So let's hope this is cool. Now if we do a df, now you can see this error. So this error is popping up because it's telling me no such file directory is online foods.csv. So what we need to do is we need to actually find this specific part of where it is being downloaded from. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to just look for to where this part has been downloaded. Yeah. So yeah. So I think I moved it when I downloaded. I moved it out of So I'm seeing where it is. So I've seen where it is. Data science. New notebook. Yeah. So I'm going to copy this out and paste here. So run this program. Yeah, so it's still telling me online foods here. So I'm gonna do this and run. So wherever it's gone, so you can see sometimes whenever you have errors, you need to be able to read the error. So let me even see if this is fine. Yeah, so this is telling me about the part, but the other one was telling me initially about there was a space between online and foods, which there's not supposed to be space. So I've worked that out. So we can view our data. So if I'm viewing this data, so this is it. So we can see we have age, gender, marital status, we have occupation, monthly income, educational qualifications, and the likes. So from the snapshot of what we see, so it's just going to show you the first 5 and the last 5 because we have over 388 rows. So we have 388 records and we have 13 columns. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So the last column here is unnamed 12. I don't know what to want to use this for, but we are not going to be going too deep into what these columns will be used for. What we are just going to be working on is going to be data processing. So let's figure things out. Now we already have data frame. So for you to really minimize the number of records that could come out, so you can just use the dot head function. So the dot head function gives you like the first 5 of what you want to view. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So Python, don't forget, comes with starting 0 has 1. So you can see the first 5 will give you 0 to 4 instead of 1 to 5. You have 0 to 4. Now, if you want to view more than, let's say I want to view 20. So all you have to do is just put a number inside and fetch. So it shows you the first 20, 0 to 19, which shows the first 20 records. But apparently we have 388. So I'm just going to view the first 5. So this is the first 5. Now from the first 5 we can see we have none. We have none here. So none is not, it's known as null values, which shows that there is nothing in that particular place. So whoever was filling this record, so let's assume this is a survey. So whoever was filling this survey form, if this particular column was not required at that point in time when they were filling the survey, they could literally miss some particular words of some particular fields that they might not put some input. So this particular person did not put an input here. Also, this particular person did not put an input here. So when generated, it sees them as null values. So it means not a number. So it fills them as null values. So it's either you see it as null or you see it as none. So whichever way, you really do not want to give your machine this kind of data for it to work with, because once it is trying to find patterns, it's going to recognize this as a pattern. You really do not want that. So the first thing you need to do is you can do an info. So you can do a df.info to view a snapshot of your particular data. So don't forget, this df means data frame, because when we read this particular CSV into our data frame, so we have this particular CSV file as a data frame. Now we have access to the data frame by printing some commands, which is the head, this is info, describe, and the like. So we're just going to be exploring quite a number of them. So info shows a snapshot telling you the range index, which we've already seen earlier on. So it's like 388 records, 0 to 387. So it shows you the column, it shows you the count, and it shows you the data type of the column. So we can already see here that we have age as an object. Age should be an integer, because recording of your age should be like 0, 1, 2, 3, 84, 85. But it's seeing it as an object, which automatically tells me something is wrong here. But then we're going to detect it in the long run. Now you can see some parts here we have 388, 388, 388, but here we have 387, which shows there is a missing value. One value is actually missing. Now this is actually telling us about none. So here we can see monthly income has a none, educational qualification has a none, and of course might have some other none, because here we can see it's 386. So it's telling us already that these two particular column has an issue. So we need to find out what the issue is. You can also say df.describe. df.describe helps you to describe basically numbers. So it helps you take the count, the mean, the standard deviation, the interquartile range, 25, 50, 75, and the maximum. So it works with just numbers, family size, latitude, longitude, pin code. So it ignores the gender, it ignores the marital status, and the likes. So we are still going to see this. Now you can see it basically work with all those that has float or int, but those that has object it automatically ignores because it says that it can't work with words. It can only work with numbers. But we are supposed to have this, but something is wrong with this column, which we are going to figure out in the long run. So with that, now let's find out how many low values do we have. So we can say df dot is na dot sum. So let's figure out how many do we have. So yeah, in educational qualification we have 2. In monthly income we have 1. So we do not want to have null values. You always make sure that you clean up null values. Now there's always this particular debate on what should we do when we detect null values. Now if the null values is actually insignificantly small, let's say you have 100 records and we have just like 1 or 2 null values, it is okay to remove the null value because you're not going to be losing a lot of records. So if you have like 3 or 4 or 5 columns and you have a null value of maybe 2 out of 100, and the most important column you have may not contain the null value, but it have it in other columns, it is okay to remove it because you won't be losing a lot of data. It's just like 2% of your whole data, so it's okay to remove it. But in some cases where you have null values up to 50% or 40%, and the most important column does not contain much of the null values, it is not okay for you to remove the null values because you'll be losing a lot of data. So what you need to do at that point is you need to either fill it up with a mode or fill it up with something else, maybe the main, the main, basically the main or the mode. You need to fill them up. You do not want to lose data at that particular point in time. So because losing 50 to 40% of your data, it's a big deal. It's going to be a big deal, and you might not be able to train your machine well, your model well, so you might have issues with whatever you want to use it for. So you need to be careful of what to do when you have null values. But this is quite small, so we can just drop them. So we can say df drop any. So when you are dropping you need to make sure that there is a keyword you add. So there's a keyword called in place, which is true. So this particular keyword means you're telling it to modify your data frame. If you do not have this, you will still get your null values back when you're actually viewing the data set in the long run. But when you add this, the in place equals true, it helps you to modify your data, and by then you'll see that your data does not contain any null value. So I'm going to run this and run this again. So you can see monthly income is gone, which is 0 now, and educational qualification is gone, which is 2. So apparently we've already removed the null values. We can also do an info again to see how many we have now. So now we have 385. So apparently we have 388, two null values from monthly income. One null values from monthly income, 2 from educational qualification. But now we have removed it and we can see that we have just 385. So it has 3 null values from 2 different columns. So it removes those null values. So we have 385, which everything matches. So we are clear that we do not have null values anymore from this and from this. So once all the number corresponds, it shows there's no null values. When you can do an isolated sum, it shows there's no null values. Then you are satisfied that you do not have null values. So you can see dot head again. So I'm printing out the data again, so you can see from 0 1 from here. We have 0, which contains no value. 1, which contains no value, has been deleted off. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. And at this point, you can decide to reset your index. This is important also. You may choose not to, you may choose to. There are some keywords you need to put. For example, the first one is drop is true. In place is equals to true. In place means modify. Drop means it drops the previous and resets it automatically. So we say reset. I didn't spell reset correctly well. So df dot head. So let's view it again. So you can see we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Unlike before, we had 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now it has reset our index and we are good to go. Now, the second thing you need to check for is wrong values. So we need to find out why we have our age to be object. There could be wrong values any other places, but I could easily detect this because age should be integer or float. Basically integer, to be honest with you, integer. Nobody is 27.6 years old, or nobody is 15.8 years old. It's either you're 15 or you're 16 or you're 27. So age should be int. But then we are seeing age as an object, but I cannot see it in this way. I cannot just like look at it. What if you have like 1,000 records? Would you be looking at them one by one? That's not cool. So what we need to do is we need to find out. So I can do a loop for column in df.columns and print. Let's print out each of the columns. So let's print out each of the columns, then put a slash n because I want it to be on the next line. Then column. So if I run this program, so it tells me there's an attribute error. So what is it? So it's telling me data frame object has no attribute columns. So now we need to look at what is going on here. So we have the spelling misspelled as columns. So we run this, yeah. So it brings the whole column here: age, gender, marital status, occupation, monthly income, and all that. So it prints out the whole column for me, which is fine. This is what I want. Then I think I want to print out all the unique values. So let's print out all the unique values. So unique values is I want it to return a unique value of each column. So if I have age between 1 to 10 for 200 people, maybe like 6 people can be the same age of 6, 20 people can be the same age of 8, but then I want it to just print out a single value. Instead of printing out 66666 in 20 places, it should print out just 6 as 1. So it brings out each unique value record from the whole row, from the whole column. So we have unique values equals to df. Now I'm going to be selecting each of the column dot unique. So do not worry about this, it's not too complex. Print. So I'm going to print out unique. So if I run this, so now you can see it's printing out 8 unique value for me. So the age is 27, 22, 27, 24, 23. Now we can see why we have object, because it's having a question mark. So somebody imputed a question mark while filling this form. For gender, is only male and female, no more gender. Marital status, single, married, prefer not to say. This is fine. This is fine. So educational qualification also have this question mark, which is not cool. So that's a wrong value. Family size is okay. This is okay. This is okay. This is okay. Output, yes or no. Feedback, negative, positive. Unnamed, yes or no. So we have just 2 columns. The age has a question mark, which is a wrong value. The educational qualification has a question mark, which is a wrong value. So now, so you can say wrong value columns equals, so I can put it in a list. So the first one is age, and the second one is I'm just gonna copy and paste educational qualification. Yeah, so I think that's just what we have. We just have 2 of them as wrong values. So what do we do? So apparently we don't know how many particular values. You can actually go ahead to check out how many they are, but you know, just use that as a filter to check how the occurrence of what they have that particular value for. But then we can just do something. What we need to do is either we just drop them, like I used to say. It's either you drop them or you fill them with their mode, which shows that the most occurrence value from that particular column, we can pick that value and fill in that value to the question mark, replace it with the question mark. Or rather, we can just look for something else and just add it to it. So depends on what you want to do as an engineer, but for me, I will do both of them. So I'm just going to do both of them. So for age, so wrong values is that I can now decide to say df dot so let me just pick a column. So selected, just going to pick a column which is age. Selected column equals age. So if I'm picking age as my column, now what I need to do is I would replace that question mark to 0. So I'm just going to remove that question mark and put 0 there. So I can say df dot location. So in my location, I want to select, and I'm going to put a condition. So df selected column, which is age. Now, my condition will be where you see a question mark in the selected column. What you need to do is replace it with 0. So let's just say replace it with 0. So this line of code is telling us df.lock. So lock is like location. Go to this specific location, select this particular column. In this particular column, make sure you find those that satisfy this condition. So where you have question mark, replace it with 0. So that's just what I'm trying to tell it. So if I run this code, hopefully there's no errors. I can now rerun this again to see. So if I rerun this, now we can see the question mark that we have initially here is now, after 23, is now 0. So we can see we have 0 instead of the question mark that we have. so which is cool. We've sorted that out. So you can fill it with a particular word, or a number, or whatever. You can also fill it using their mode. So for example, so this is the first method, filling in with just something you want to fill it with. It doesn't matter, you can fill it with anything, or you fill it in with their, so I'm just going to write a loop. So for example, if they have several columns, so like 4 columns in for column, because we are looping it through in wrong columns. So let's assume we have several columns. Now what I need to do is I need to first find their mode. So mode value equals to df. So we have your column, because we are looping in through the columns, dot mode dot ilog brackets 0. So what I'm trying to tell it is loop through. So if you have several columns that have wrong values, so loop through each of them. Now select the particular mode of each particular value. So it's going to loop through one. So it's going to start with, since there are 2, so the first one is age. It's going to start with age, checking for the wrong values, putting age in here, fetch out the mode of the age. Now the same condition that we added here, this particular condition here, is what we are still going to use there. So I'm just going to pick this condition and paste. So we have df.log. So instead of selected column, it's going to be column. It's going to be column equals to. So at this point, we've gotten their mode value. So we're just going to put it here, mode value. So after doing this, if I run this code, hopefully there's no errors. Yeah, there's no error. I am going to now come back and print it out here and print all unique values. So if I'm printing all unique values here, we can see educational qualification, which initially has what is educational qualification? So it has postgraduate, it has graduate, it has question mark, PhD, uneducated, and school. But now it has postgraduate, graduate, PhD, uneducated, and school. So that particular question mark has been removed. So the mode value is going to find out the mode value, which particular value is the mode value. So it could be postgraduate, it could be graduate, it could be PhD. So we can literally find out by just doing a printout at this point. So before we do this, we can just do a printout here to find. So this one prints out the unique value. So if I want to find out the mode value, so I'm just going to print mode value. I always like to put in so mode value. Yeah. So if I run this code, so you can see for age, the mode value is 23, while for educational qualification, the mode value is graduate. So it automatically replaces the record that has question mark as the mode value. So let's see what our data set now looks like. So initially, this is what our data set looks like. And so I'm just going to do a df.add again. Run. So I'm going to print the first 50. Run. So we can see every other data set we have now has been cleaned up. So we do not have wrong values, we do not have null values, we do not have non values. All the wrong values has been replaced with either a particular number or it has been replaced with the mode value of what we have. Now, with this, we can say that our data is clean, of course. Clean. Now, it depends on what we now want to do. We can proceed to either do some, let's assume we want to do a machine learning algorithm. We need to make sure that each of these values are actually numbers. So we can do what they call encoding. So we can proceed to do encoding where we get to encode each particular values based on their type. So there is one hot encoding, there is ordinal encoding, there is other stuff of other kind of encoding. Then also we can also proceed to do some scaling. So after encoding, you can do some scaling. Then you can now do your feature selection. You select the features you want, and you fit in your particular data set into your algorithm, into your model. So we can decide to do that, or rather, if you just want to do some statistical analysis about your particular data set and do some categories and other stuff, you can just use them directly in whatever you want to do. But at this point in time, your data processing is actually complete. You have already done the most important thing you need to do. Your data set is ready for whatever next step you want to take it to do. So that's that about that. Few things you need to consider is number one, once you get in your data, you need to consider checking the info you describe. It tells you the null value count. It tells you if something is actually wrong with your data by mere looking at the data type from this particular column. Make sure you remove them or you fill them in based on the proportion of what you have. And then you can reset the index so that maybe when you are doing any machine learning procedure, you might not really have any issues. And also checking for wrong value. So most times people do not checking for wrong value. So wrong values is most data sets, raw data sets always have wrong values, except the ones that are already pre-processed or those that are already fixed at some point where it has to do with using so when you want to fill a form, there is this validation that is being placed on the form. There are some forms that comes with validation, while some do not come with validation. So those ones that do not come with validations are always prone to have wrong value. So you need to be very careful about how you deal with that. So that is that about that. You can follow these steps. Go to Kaggle, pick up some data sets, play around, see how you can actually do some data processing, manipulation, and the likes. And you can see the more you actually get your hands on this, the better you become. So please make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe to this channel if you have not. And happy coding.